We will do the English explanation of the poem, Keeping Quiet. Now we will count to 12 and we will keep still. The poet advocates that we all will count to 12 and round the clock, and we will all keep still. We will all keep still and motionless and without any talking. For once on the surface of the earth, let's not speak any language. The poet asks the whole world. The poet says that for once on the face of earth, let's not speak any language. We do not have to raise any question against it, and we do not have to raise any dispute against it. Let's stop for 1 second and not move arms so much. The poet says that we have to give a pause to our working, and we have to keep self observation of the situation and not move arms too much. We do not have to do excessive work. We have to stop working for a while for self observation. It would be an exotic moment. The poet says, when all will become silent and they will not talk and they will not make any noise and they will not continue with their work, they will stop their work for a moment, then this moment will be an exotic. This moment will be an extraordinary moment for all without rush, where people will be not in very haste. They will have enough time to think over the problems. Without engine, we should we would all be together in a sudden stillness. The poet says that we will stop all the machines while we do the self observation. We would all be together in sudden stillness. While we will stop working, while there will be complete silence, then that moment will be a strange moment for all of us, because we have not experienced that kind of moment till now. Fisherman in the cold sea. Now, the poet says the people are doing excessive work and they are causing harm to the nature as well as to themselves. They are making harm to their mental health and they are making harm to their physical health. Now, poet gives the example, fishermen in the cold sea would not harm whales. Fishermen are continuously fishing and fishing the whales in cold sea. While they are doing this work in the cold sea, they are harming themselves physically and they are exploiting the nature excessively, continuously, and they are harming the whales. They are killing the whales. And the man gathering salt would look at his hard hands. Now, the poet says, the fisherman who is harming the nature and environment, and on the other hand, the man gathering salt. Now he gives the example of a man who is collecting salt would look at his hurt while they will stop work for a while and they will keep silent and they will have enough time to think about themselves and to look at themselves, okay, how much harm they have done to themselves. And the man who is collecting salt will be able to look his hands, how much injury he has given to his hands with excessive work. Those who prepare greenwash. Now the poet says about those people, those who are in greed of money, harming the environment in different ways. The people, those who prepare greenwash, the people in greed, those who are harming the environment, by cutting the trees recklessly, and by urbanization and by rapid industrialization, they are causing the harm to the environment, and this is called green war. So the poet advocates to those men, those who are preparing green wars, those harming the environment, wars with gas. Now the poet talks about the people, those who prepare a war with gas, those who are uh, setting up industries, those who are emitting poisonous gases into the atmosphere, and those who are doing wars with gas, they are making the environment poisonous with gases, and it is harmful for all humanity. Wars with fire, and who are preparing wars for fire? The people, those who are preparing for wars with bombs, they are making bombs, and these bombs will harm the whole environment and make the complete destruction of the human beings. The poet says this is very dangerous position, and this is the time we have to just think about these things seriously. What at what point we are going to get victory with no survivors? The poet says, what will the use of that victory if we get victory by killing number of people? Then there will be no living beings will be left on this earth. There will be no human life on the earth. What will the use of this kind of victory? The poet says, would put on clean clothes. After the victory, the people wear clean clothes. During the war, they drench their clothes with the blood of their enemies, and after the war, they would put clean clothes and walk about with their brothers. Now, after the war, they will walk with their brothers, and they will talk about brotherhood in shade. Then there will be no use of doing this kind of deed. When after this much of bloodshedding, they will talk about the brotherhood, it will be useless thing. The poet says, what I want should not be confused. The poet wants to give a message to the whole human beings, to the world. What I want should not be confused. The poet says, the message which I want to give through my poem should not be misunderstood. With total inactivity, I don't mean that you stop your work completely. The poet wants people to stop for a while and just give a pause to the activities for a moment and think over the serious situation, what kind of harm they are doing to the environment, and what kind of harm they are giving to their mental health and their physical health. The poet says, life is what it is about. The poet wants people to enjoy the life with working. There should no be there should not be any excessive work, and there should not be excessive exploitation of nature and exploitation of human resources. I want no truck with death. The poet says, I have nothing to do with the death. The poet says that he refuses to be involved something. He says he does not want complete loss of life, a complete stillness if we were not go single minded. The poet says that if we were not so single minded about keeping our lives moving. The poet says, if we will not pay any attention, if we will not pay any heed to this problem, and we will not think it seriously and keep on working in the similar way, if we will not stop working for a while and not do self observation, then there will be very much harm to the nature, and there will be very much harm to the human beings, and for once could do nothing. When we will be at the stage of, at the verge of destruction, then there will be no use of taking any step at last moment. Perhaps a huge silence might interrupt this sadness. And if we will not stop doing this exploitation, we will not stop doing excessive work, possibly there will be complete silence, might interrupt this sadness. And the sadness will be interrupted by huge silence. There will be no life of never understanding ourselves and threatening ourselves with death. And there will be sadness when we will find that the earth will be without human beings, of never understanding ourselves. Then we will realize that we have not paid any heed to ourselves and threatening ourselves with death. And we continue to work and we continue to prepare for wars and ourselves with death, and we will reach to the complete destruction. Perhaps the earth can teach us when everything seems dead and later proves to be alive. The poet says, possibly we would get a lesson from the earth. While we see the surface of the earth, we find that there is no life on the surface of the earth. Everything seems dead, but we know that there are seeds inside the earth and they are get germinated and they sprout in the season of spring and they come out in form of life. The poet gives this example and warns people that they may take lesson from the earth. They will silently continue to their work. There must be not too much disturbance. There must not to be excessive exploitation of nature and exploitation of human resources. They will do the silent observation about themselves and about the environment. Now I will count up to 12 and the keep quiet I will go. The poet says again this line to give stress to his advice that he wants people that they will follow the path which he has shown. I will count up to 12. He wants people that he will count to 12 and they will themselves take the path which is guided by him, and they will give time to self observation and they will follow the path of peace and his mission will be complete. Now, poetic devices. No rhyming scheme. This poem has no rhyming scheme. Alliteration, the occurrence of the same letter sound at the beginning of closely connected words. So we see here are two words, we will. The sound of wa is repeated and hot hands in these two words, H sound H is repeated. So this is an example of agitation. Sudden stillness. Here, sound of S is repeated in these two words. And symbol, fisherman in the cold sea, excessive exploitation of nature. And man gathering salt, hard hands, excessive exploitation of human resources, paradox, contradictory statement, anaphora, repeating a sequence of words at the beginning of neighboring clauses. Now you see that we are repeating the words here. Let's not, let's stop. So repeating a sequence of the words is example of anaphora. Without rush, without engines. Here, the repetition of the word is without and without. Thank you. Bye bye.